Hello, ladies and gentlemen, financial advisors from around the world. Thank you for watching this on-air broadcast. I am Bill Winterberg, president of FPPad.com, and in today's on-air broadcast, joining me is Stephen Wershing, president of the Client-Driven Practice. Stephen, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, Bill, thanks so much for having me. It's great to talk to you.
Excellent. Now, Stephen, can you give me a brief background about what the client-driven practice is? I think some of my audience knows you for the Stop Asking for Referrals strategy guy. So give me a brief overview of what the client-driven practice is.
You bet. The Client-Driven Practice is a coaching firm for financial advisors that helps them understand some of the misconceptions about referrals and how to draft formal referral marketing strategies so that they can more systematically attract referrals.
Sounds great. So let's jump into one of my first questions. So as advisors think about systematically generating these referrals, I think some advisors get caught in a trap because they're so dependent on referrals and they just need to reach out to clients and say, who would you recommend? What are some of those misconceptions out there that advisors have, and what are those false beliefs they have around that referral strategy?
Well, the biggest misconception is that the only way that you can get them is to ask for them, and that's absolutely not the case. And we now have research that demonstrates this. You know, as social animals, we habitually refer. We have a social need to refer. It's a way of extending our influence, of deepening our relationships. It's social currency, and the big misconception is that that left to their own devices, people won't do that. That's absolutely not the case. Now, for people to refer, we refer all the time. We all do. You know, think of the last time you talked with a friend and you recommended a movie or a restaurant or a doctor or a lawn service, or, you know, we're always referring, and we're always, that's part of our social interchange. Mm-hmm. Now we do that because we get rewards from it. When we can provide a friend of ours an answer to a question, a solution to a problem, or just show them a good experience, we get a little shot of dopamine in our heads. We get a positive reward for that. And so if people are not referring, it's because they don't understand how they will get that reward by doing that. So a lot of our process is involved in constructing your practice and having those conversations in such a way that it's obvious to people that they can get those rewards. And when we provide those, they'll do it. They'll naturally engage in it. So we don't have to go prying it out of them, which, by the way, is actually counterproductive. When you go asking for referrals, you actually stress the relationship, maybe even diminish the relationship, and you actually make referrals less likely than if you had set up the circumstances the right way in the first place.
Yeah, so let me challenge you. I receive a lot of messages from advisors, and many of them feature in the bottom signature of their email is, the best compliment I can receive is a referral. Can you recommend my service to somebody? Where do you fall on the acceptable or not acceptable spectrum of that type of call to action, if you will, at the bottom of your email signature?
Sure. That's relatively harmless. You're not going to really hurt. You're not going to put stress on the client relationship by doing that. It's also, you're not going to get referrals either. So it's ineffective, but it's not counterproductive. Whereas asking for referrals, when you have the client in your office and you finish up your appointment and you close out by saying, now, who else do you know that could use my services? And you put them on the spot and ask them to produce something right there. You ask them to prospect and qualify for you, which, by the way, is not fair. That's not what they signed up for. It's not their role in the relationship. That's actually damaging. So put it in the signature, not a big deal. It's not going to do anything for you, but whatever. But it's the putting them on the spot that is the stuff that we really have to get away from.
So let's talk about things that do work and things that will generate referrals. The FPPad audience clearly is in tune with technology. So I want to give you an opportunity to address those one or two big technology things that advisors watching can implement and can explore to create that atmosphere where clients are compelled to make referrals rather than the advisor have to prod and poke and cajole their clients to make those referrals. So what are those key technology solutions that you're seeing out there that's creating some success with referrals?
Well, the biggest one, and everybody's heard about it. We talk about it all the time. But the the one that you can use to enhance your referral marketing strategy is your CRM program. Um, the key to referral marketing is getting known for something specific, providing a solution or an experience that a particular set of clients is looking for. And that means some level, that means niche marketing. It means a level of specialization. And so you can take what's special about your audience, what's special about your target clients, and you can put things in your CRM that will enhance that. So, for example, you could use keywords or tags in your CRM system to track things that's special about your target market. So let's say that your niche is high-level executives, and so they get stock options, and they have concentrated positions in employer stock, and things like that. You can track stock option expiration dates in their record in your CRM program.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that you work with young families. Well, you could use your CRM program to track who goes to what daycare, or who has what pediatrician. And so when news comes up that's relevant to those folks, you have instant access to everybody who might be affected by it, and then you can reach out to them with an appropriate piece of news, or when some article comes in front of your attention, you have the key things put in there so you can rapidly access which clients are going to be affected by it, and then reach out to them with a relevant message. Even better, a message that doesn't necessarily have to do strictly about financial planning, just
Mm-hmm.
something that they care deeply about, that solidifies that perception in their mind that, oh yeah, this is the guy who knows about all that stuff, and then when they meet somebody else who has those needs, that's when the referral happens.
So this is more than just creating tags or keywords or characteristics around clients and then focusing on, hey, can you open up a referral? Can you make a connection because you happen to use the same pediatrician or you happen to have the same company stock options? It's going a bit beyond that by using that type of keywords and that type of tagging in your CRM, correct?
Exactly, exactly. So if you have stuff like that in there, and let's say that something changes in the tax law about flexible spending accounts or something like that, and you're working with young families, well, you can reach out to them and say, hey, here's an article about the new opportunities that you have for your FSA and how you can apply those to your pediatrician or your daycare or those kinds of things. And again, what it does is solidifies your expertise at that. And so when when your clients meet a new family in town, or they hear that one of their friends is pregnant, or those kinds of things, it's more likely that you're going to come to mind because all of the issues around that are going to come to mind.
Mm-hmm. Now, another question I had surrounds social media and how social media is changing the landscape of referrals and how people refer other professionals. Certainly, websites like Yelp allow individuals, consumers to post ratings and reviews of service providers and restaurants, and some advisors are starting to get listed on sites like that, somewhat augmenting the referrals with these reviews and 4 or 5-star ratings out there. I know advisors clearly, about 80 or 90% of them have profiles on LinkedIn, and I'm there too, and I've got over 1,000 connections on LinkedIn, but clearly I'm failing to use it as a positive referral mechanism, or I'm just not connecting the dots on how to best follow some LinkedIn strategies. So I wanted to challenge you. Can you think of and educate me and our audience today on some of those LinkedIn strategies surrounding that use of social media so it doesn't cross the line of asking explicitly for referrals, but talks about this more nuanced referral strategy that you talked about?
It's a great question, and LinkedIn is a very, very powerful tool, and I love it because, unlike some social media, there are two ways that you can use LinkedIn. One is to project things out, so you can publish articles that are relevant to your client base. You can put content and push information out. But with LinkedIn, you can also do research. And see, I'm glad you brought this up because it raises one of the big misconceptions about the strategy when people hear about me. The book is called Stop Asking for Referrals. It's not called Stop Talking about Referrals.
Mm-hmm.
So
Fair point.
we just need to have the new referral conversation. We have to have a referral conversation in a different way. And so one of the things one of the really useful concepts is don't ask for referrals, ask for introductions. Now, when you ask the who do you know question, you're asking your client to prospect and qualify for you, and they're not comfortable doing that. They're not qualified to do that. It's not part of the deal. But friends introduce people to other friends all the time, and so with LinkedIn, and to just to give proper credit for it, this is an idea that I got from Sam Richter, who wrote a book called "Take the Cold Out of Cold Calling."
That's right.
Which is fabulous. And he's one that, when I see him speak at a conference, I can't write fast enough to get all the ideas down.
Mm-hmm.
So one of his ideas, he's all about research and using all this great technology that we have to do research on people before you meet them or to find them in the first place. And so one of the cool things about LinkedIn is that if you're connected to somebody, then you can see all the people that they are connected to. So you would, before a client comes in, you might look them up on LinkedIn and then see who they're connected to. Now, if you've got a good, well-defined niche, then it shouldn't be very difficult for you to figure out who among those people are the best prospects for you. And so you write a couple of those names down, and then when they come in at the end of the meeting, you might say something like, we've done some great work with our client advisory board, and we've learned that people like fill in the blank come to us for fill in the problem, just like we helped you with. Now, we also happen to know that Bill Winterberg could really benefit from knowing us, mm-hmm. and we could do these same things for him. But the problem is we don't know Bill all that well, so we don't know that he would take our call. But I was on LinkedIn yesterday, and I noticed that you're connected to Bill. Mm-hmm. So would you be willing to introduce us to Bill? Well, that's a whole different question than who do you know. And usually, if you're just saying, look, we know that Bill needs what we do, and we know that you know him, would you introduce us? A lot of people would say, sure, yeah. And now they might say, well, I don't really know Bill well enough, and that's fine. You're not putting them on the spot. They can say no, and you're like, okay, well, never mind. That's fine. We appreciate that your willingness to think about it. But a lot of people will say, oh, sure, I'd be happy to introduce you to Bill. And now you have a warm referred lead without putting them through all that discomfort of trying to figure out who they should mention and whether or not they need somebody like you and whether or not they'd be open to a conversation. Whole different ballgame.
Yeah, because you're right. It takes that qualification aspect out of it. You're not asking, well, who do you know who will benefit from these services? You're changing it because, can you just make an introduction? We're just not connected, haven't had the opportunity to meet yet, and we just need a connection. So do you have guides or templates or examples of the language that some advisors can use to facilitate that introduction?
Most of those are in the book, but you bring it up. It should probably be a separate white paper. That's a great idea. I'll have to work on that one. But
awesome.
But all of the, there are worksheets in the books. There are also some web extras to the book that if you register for my site, you can have access to. So if you register for the site and then log in, you'll see a couple extra little menu items pop up on the site, and that'll give you access to some worksheets and templates and those kinds of things.
Great, Stephen. So for the audience watching today, they hear you talk about the book, they hear you talk about some of these web extras. They can see the web address out there, but some might be listening on a podcast. What is that website where advisors can go get more information about stop asking for referrals and the client-driven practice?
Just go to theclientdrivenpractice.com, and it's all right there.
Wonderful, Stephen. Well, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to share with me today some new ideas about referral strategies, if you will, and using some technology really wisely and really prudently to facilitate that discussion and to really increase the frequency of those introductions and expand one's network. So, Stephen, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks again for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
All right, excellent. And for everybody tuning into this week's or this edition of On Air, thank you so much. And stay tuned if you want to see future and past editions of On Air. Please visit online at fppad.com/onair. For Stephen and myself, I am Bill Winterberg. Thank you so much for watching.